Sharon Stone is known worldwide as an actress and a Hollywood star from Basic Instinct, בבקשה. פה, בבקשה. To Casino, winning an Oscar nomination and the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress, but for many years now, Ms. Stone has been promoting social and humanitarian causes, heading the Foundation for AIDS Research, now leading YALA, an online organization for peace in the Middle East. Sharon Stone. Please. Or here, perhaps it's better next to the president. You know, I wonder how personal and authentic we can be in such a setting, but I will start with you, Ms. Stone. And we'll do it all in English, so feel free. Was there a moment in which you realized what life in the limelight means? Was there a moment in which you realized you get addicted to being famous? You just need the mic.
Well, I was very lucky in that I had a very wonderful father. And because of that, I think that I avoided the addiction to fame issue. Because first, I'll answer your question in two parts. Yes, there was a moment when I realized I was really in the limelight when I became famous, because my fame came on very suddenly and very quickly. And I was driving up a main street in my town called Sunset Boulevard, which is kind of a famous street. And I stopped at a red light, and a lot of people climbed on top of my car. And I didn't know what to do when the light turned green, because I didn't want to kill a lot of people who were on my car. And it was a very frightening moment. So that's how I knew I was so famous. And my father was a really terrific man, and after a couple years of unending fame, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I think you should stop working for a while." And I said, "How long?" And he said, 2 years. And he was right, and I stopped working for 2 years. And that was really good, because it gave me a chance to stay in touch with my family, with my friends, with my regular life. And because of that, I've been able to make choices to stay out of the, what I think of as like a hamster wheel of an unreal life. So I think because of that, I've had a practical application of being able to use fame as a fuel to do healthful things and helpful things instead of just kind of craziness.
And we'll talk about what you did with fame and how you used it as a leverage. But I want to talk about your fame, President Peres. Is it fair to say that a politician needs a sizable ego? Is it fair to say that a politician needs a sizable ego?
No, he must be very careful about it. It can kill him.
And were you, at a certain moment, aware of the fact that the life, and you constantly led the life in the limelight, takes a toll on you?
I don't think that light or limelight is of any importance, really. If you ask me what was, like Sharon said, the crucial moment in my life was when in 1947, the year before the establishment of the State of Israel, when I came to the headquarters of Haganah upon the order of Ben-Gurion, I get hold of a letter that from a man that Ben-Gurion suggested him to be the chief of staff. And in the letter he wrote, I checked the situation carefully, and I want to tell you, Mr. Prime Minister, that we have ammunition only for 6 days to fight. That shocked me to my death. I thought, 6 days? That's it? That was the crucial moment of my life.
That's
The
the
rest-
moment in which you decided to be a public servant?
I don't know. Look, titles are not important. They were never important in my eyes. What is important is not what you are, but what you do. And some people collect biographies and titles. What can you do with them? They're meaningless. What you really do is your contribution to your people and to other persons.
You know, I see Sharon nodding, and I wonder, when you took on the fight against AIDS, and when you took on these social causes, did you find that it's hard to get people, to get them convinced that you're not just a Hollywood star, that you're not just an actress looking for another kind of activity? Did you find it hard to convince them that you're really into it?
It's never been my objective to convince them about who I am or what I do. My objective is the thing itself.
And when you started working with AIDS researchers, and when you started working back then with the AIDS research organization, what was it that you find, that you discovered, that all of a sudden gave you another perspective on life?
I don't think that anything happens all of a sudden.
Only in journalistic
I
questions.
think that maybe change happens all of a sudden, but the preparation for change takes so long.
What do you mean by that? What kind of change were you prepared for?
I think, particularly we can say in the fight against AIDS, there were so many years we've been working with AIDS, and at this point 34 million people have died from AIDS, and there are 34 million people living with AIDS. So there isn't anyone in this room now who probably doesn't know someone who has had AIDS, hasn't had someone they've known and loved who they've lost from AIDS, hasn't had an effect in their lives from this illness. So I think really, as we went through, certainly in what has now become the Global Foundation for AIDS Research, there were just so many years of asking people for help, asking people for money, going into overcrowded laboratories, working with scientists who simply never went home. And the losses, as the losses mounted and mounted and mounted, the learning curve was just learning to live with the despair and learning to live with the terrible burden of failure and the terrible burden of loss, and keeping together the feeling of hope and the knowledge that we would succeed. I think ultimately that's what we, I think if I can say we, that we feel in this journey towards peace, that you can't believe that when you're walking through the difficult period of time where there's resistance and difficulty and struggle, that can be your belief, that the belief is in the difficulty and the journey, that you must have belief in the understanding of what you're journeying towards. And in that, this year, we found a cure for a young girl in pediatrics AIDS, ultimately a very simple cure. And with that, we understand that we will now be able to move forward and cure many, many millions of other children with AIDS. And in that, I can understand that though peace has seemed so far away and so difficult, and that failure has seemed upon us and so difficult, it's the same thing. If you keep your eye on the ball and you move forward, being willing to stand with that feeling, that difficult feeling of shame and grief and guilt and loss, you can move forward as long as you don't take it personally, as long as you understand that you are willing to do what it takes to get there, as you are willing to have it because you believe that it is true.
Thank you very much.